Hey, soul survivors, we're going to talk about the chemicals in our brain, the narcissistic brain, and how it affects us being angry, anxious, what triggers the narcissist, and even how to heal after we've gone through some brain chemistry alteration. So, anger, this is a complex emotion and it involves the interaction of different brain regions and also neurotransmitters. And there are several chemicals that have been implicated within this experience of anger. So it includes things like dopamine. The neurotransmitter is associated with reward and pleasure. We all like that dopamine hit, but the narcissist starts craving and craving it to the utmost where nothing else matters. And in some cases, though, this dopamine can also contribute to aggression and anger. So there's also serotonin, another neurotransmitter, and this is involved in regulating our mood. Low levels of serotonin have been linked to increased irritability and anger. And as we go through our CPTSD, it is possible that our serotonin levels are depleted and we have to readjust it. Serotonin makes you feel good. So it can cause irritability and anger when it's in excess, though. So adrenaline, this hormone is released in response to stress, can increase things such as heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, which is our breathing, and it prepares the body for fight or flight. And this can also contribute to the experience of anger. And noradrenaline, this neurotransmitter is also a hormone. Hormones are what go through your body, and neurotransmitters are kind of like the brain activity stuff that's going on. It's absorbed in a different area, and this is involved in the body's stress response and can increase arousal, alertness, aggression. Cortisol, this hormone is also released in response to stress and can increase blood sugar levels, also suppresses the immune system. Elevated levels of cortisol are also linked to this aggression and anger. So the brain chemistry is extremely important. And as you can see how it increases blood sugar levels, suppresses the immune system, that we got to be careful that it doesn't cause heart damage or possibility for susceptibility to diabetes. Now, during anxiety, this is another complex emotion, but there are brain chemicals that are released when you're anxious, such as cortisol. This hormone is released in response to stress. And like I said, it can increase your blood sugar levels, suppress your immune system. So it's important to get this regulated. Elevated levels of cortisol are linked to anxiety. Adrenaline is released in response to a stress and can increase heart rate, blood pressure, respiration. And this is preparing our body for fight or flight, and it often can cause anxiety because our body is not meant to be in an overabundance of adrenaline. Once that happens, it can start causing brain damage, making us feel off, and we can get into a really bad cycle. GABA, GABA, also known as gamma immunobutyric acid. I always have a hard time saying that. That's a neurotransmitter that helps regulate our brain activity, inhibits the stress response. But if those levels are lowered, it can associate with anxiety. There's a lot of things that go on in our brain. Serotonin is involved with regulating mood. Low levels of serotonin can cause us to feel depressed or anxious. Norepinephrine is involved in the body's stress response and can increase arousal and alertness. And elevated levels of norepinephrine is another factor when you're dealing with anxiety. So it's really important to get these brain chemicals in check, and we'll talk about that. So when we are anxious, which brain chemicals are lacking? And serotonin is lacking. So they're not exactly sure the exact cause of anxiety disorders, but it's believed to be the imbalance in certain brain chemicals. And serotonin, this neurotransmitter, is involved in the mood regulation and is great for feelings of well-being and happiness. Low levels will lead to anxiety. GABA, like I said, is the neurotransmitter that helps regulate our brain activity, also increases inhibition in stress response. And dopamine, we all like that dopamine hit, but like I said, this is related to the reward and pleasure, but in some cases, it can also contribute to anxiety and restlessness if these are left unbalanced. Norepinephrine deals with the body's stress response and will increase arousal and alertness. Elevated levels will be associated with anxiety disorders, and we have to get that in check. Cortisol, it's sometimes we're lacking it and it affects our blood sugar levels. So what chemicals in the brain can trigger a narcissist? Narcissism, complex personality disorder, but they love that dopamine, the reward and pleasure. So there are studies that show that narcissistic traits may have a higher level of dopamine activity in the brain's reward systems. It's just like the addiction to that supply. They need more and more of it. Testosterone, maybe this is partially why they're at this time currently more male than female narcissists. This hormone is often linked to aggression and dominant behaviors and may contribute to the grandiose and dominating behavior often seen in people with narcissistic traits. We have serotonin that regulates our mood, impulse control, but if these levels are low, it can be associated with impulsivity, aggression, and that's often why the narcissist has a disregard for law, for rules, for people's feelings. Cortisol is a response to stress and can increase our blood sugar, suppress immune system. But there is some research out there that suggests somebody who is narcissistic may have higher levels of cortisol, and that can contribute to their hypervigilance and also sensitivity to criticism. So they might be hypervigilant, watching your every move, or becoming sensitive to anything you say. They take it as a personal attack instead of a discussion or constructive criticism. So it is important to note that the brain chemistry can play a role in the development of narcissistic traits, but there are also other factors that will be involved. They believe genetics play a part, the environment, personal experiences, those all lead to triggers. And not all people that have high levels of these brain chemicals exhibit narcissistic traits. Not all individuals with narcissistic traits will have imbalanced levels of these chemicals. So there is treatment available. The success rate, I've heard through Nameless Narcissist that he's pretty scholarly, but he says it's like a 52% success rate after 2 years. I tend to disagree with that because narcissists, for one thing, don't usually go to therapy that long. There's a lot more studies that say, that narcissists really struggle in overcoming because they have to take the time to rewire the brain. Are they willing to do that? It can be quite uncomfortable, just like us dealing with our CPTSD. It takes effort, takes time, and they're just so into that quick fix. They're so self-centered already that they don't have the empathy to relate to other people, so they're feeling it's a waste of time. So treatment for narcissism involves psychotherapy. There could be some medication that will treat comorbidities, but there is no medication for narcissism itself. But if we're struggling with depression or anxiety, there are non-medical things that we can do to heal, and there are also medications that can help deal with that. But it is important that we take control of our brain again, because medication can kind of ease or mask the symptoms, but what is triggering us and what is uncomfortable in our brain needs to be addressed to be healed, so we can be one again, we can be whole again. And I hope that was helpful. The different chemicals are extremely important. We'll talk more about different ways to increase our levels of serotonin and dopamine in a healthy way, because you deserve a happy life, and I'm here to help you. Feel free to comment below. Topic requests are welcome. One-on-ones are available. I'll see you in the next video, and hit that like button if this was helpful. See you soon.